Today on Match Play.
Welcome to Match Play TV today. I'm Ray Adams and thank you for joining me. I am at the beautiful Wigwam Resort. This is a historic property with great golf, with great resort service, and it's world class. And of course, today there's some very special events going on. The most important though is my guest, and you know him, Major Ed Pulido from Folds of Honor. Major Ed, welcome to Match Play today.
Well, what a great day to be an American!
Yes, it is. And you know, Major Ed Pulido, you and I have been friends for many years. You've been on my radio show on NBC Sports Radio here in Phoenix, Arizona. And of course, Major Ed, I remember a number of years ago when we first met and became friends, Major Ed gave me a copy of his Purple Heart that you were awarded after you had your injuries sustained during the war. But I want to go back before that. We're going to talk to Major Ed about you, and we're going to talk about Folds of Honor. We're going to talk about the connection of Folds of Honor with golf as well, because there's a huge connection. But let me start, Major Ed. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to get involved in the military when you did.
Well, it's a great day and a special day to be an American, first of all. And thank you. Congratulations on everything that you're doing. Just highlighting the stories of real people, the impact of the game of golf, and certainly the impact on our men and women who fight for our freedom. One of the things that I always talk about, and I talked about it in my book, Warrior for Freedom, is that, you know, my father once told me that when you take the oath of office to defend the greatest nation in the world, it was always about God, our families, and this great nation. And I think, to me, the reason that we do that is to protect the American people. And when you take that solemn oath, real oath of office to defend this great nation, that's what it's all about. And my father was a Colombian immigrant who came to this country, got his citizenship, Vietnam era veteran, and you know what? He taught us the value of hard work, motivation, inspiration, dedication, but also the spirit of service and a spirit of sacrifice. Yeah. And I just spent some time with my mom and dad in Florida, and one of the things that when he broke down during our Christmas break, you know, he told us, he's so proud of all of us and what we've been able to do and our families. And I just think that, you know, from a Hispanic point of view, you know, my mom's Puerto Rican, my dad's Colombian. It's like oil and water getting together, you know. But, you know, at the end of the day, that's kind of how it all started. And I went to service and took the oath at 17 years of age. I've never looked back. It was the only thing that I ever really wanted to do, and that was to join the United States Army and serve this great nation and serve its people.
You know, Major Ed, tell me a little bit about your military service. How did you come to join the military, and when did you join? And give us a little bit of that story, please.
Well, like I said, 17 years of age, I took the oath of office to defend this great nation on the delayed entry program. You know, I went to boot camp, and guess what? You know what? I was an enlisted service member, and from there I became an officer, what they call the Green to Gold program, and got my education. And you know, I served 19 years and 2 months in the United States Army, and of course my career was cut short. But you know what? I don't look back at it as a negative. And the people that did this to me, you know what? I don't look at them as a negative either. What I look at is that, you know what? They were doing what they were doing. Guess what? I got hit on that day. I have no remorse or no issues with anybody. The only thing that I would say is that, you know what? At the end of the day, I sacrificed my leg for the greatest nation in the world, the United States of America.
You did, and you wrote a wonderful book about it, Warrior for Freedom, Challenge, Triumph, and Change. And we're going to get to that book in just a few minutes. Of course, we're talking really through the book as well. But yes. Why did you choose the Army as your branch of service?
Well, it was funny. My brother's Navy, my dad's Army, And I just wanted to follow in his footsteps. And you know what, I love the colors, I love the history of this country, and then George Washington. I mean, look, I'm wearing a Purple Heart. I see that every day. That's a reminder of our founding fathers of this great nation. And I think with all the political strife and the negativity, I don't really pay attention to any of that. What I do is I encourage positiveness, I encourage love, I encourage support, opportunity. And the thing about it is that what drives me and gets me up every day is the fact that I live in a nation where you can thrive and be successful and follow your dreams. And that's exactly what I did by joining the United States Army.
We'll be back with more Match Play right after these messages.
Get fit, spend less, play better. HL4 by Tour Edge is custom fit innovation for every golfer. Dial in your game with state-of-the-art technology designed to outperform clubs costing twice as much. Hand-built in the USA, backed by a lifetime warranty, and shipped with our 48-hour delivery guarantee. Shop online or visit one of our 750 fitting locations today. HL4 by Tour Edge. Get fit, spend less, play better.
Introducing the Putting Stroke Teacher Training Aid.
The Putting Stroke Teacher helps the better player, the PGA Tour player, the pro that wants to get out on tour, because the first thing it's going to do is get these forearms lined up square and your shoulders lined up square. And that's the thing my dad and I worked on when I led the tour in putting, and it's the thing I'm constantly checking today to make sure that those are lined up. And that's going to really affect the path that the putter head swings on. Very easy to set up. You just take two pieces, stick them together, put it on the end of your putter, two little Velcro straps, and boom, you're in and you're ready to go. It's not big, it's very tiny. You can take it apart and stick it in your golf bag. Get the Putting Stroke Teacher and make more putts.
Order the Putting Stroke Teacher today. And now back to Match Play with your host, Ray Adams.
When you were in the military, tell us about your deployment overseas. Tell us a little bit about your experience over there. Tell us what happened over there.
Well, in 2004, I was deployed to Bakuba, Iraq. Well, we were there to stand up the new Iraqi army, and the thing about it, we were called the Coalition Military Assistance Training Teams under the command of General David Petraeus. And you know, one of the things that happened to me on August 17th of 2004, and there was a lot of things that happened to us, but on August 17th, 2004 is really when my life really changed. I say it because it puts things in perspective when you go through a life-changing injury and it alters your life.
What happened on that day?
And on that day, what happened is on August 17th of 2004, I was going to the city of Bakuba, Iraq, and I hit on the 4th mile marker out of the city, an improvised explosive device, a roadside bomb that would change my life forever. First fragment hit my knee, broken in 3 places, fragments to the left side of my body. I was in trouble. But the great thing about it is that, you know what, a young combat medic, enlisted service member came out and saved my life, took his training seriously, and rendered aid. And I'm here to be able to talk about it. But one of the things that I want to tell you is that, you know, for those out there that will see this piece, just remember that, you know what, your faith carries you through these challenges. And no matter what faith drives you, for me, it's the good Lord that drives me. That on that day I saw the light and I knew that I had asked for a second chance, and I'm able to talk about it today. And as hard as that was for me, I have to tell you that it brings tears to my eyes and some emotion, because I never thought that I would be here today to be able to talk to you or to anybody,
Yeah.
and
So
God
many
gave
of
me a
us-
second chance.
So many of us cannot relate to what happened to you. There are many, many, of course, that can, but there's so many people that are watching Major Ed that can't relate. Help us understand, as you were laying there on that roadside, and you had been blown up. What was going through your mind? You were conscious through all of it, correct?
I was. As I stepped out of the vehicle, I remember getting out of the vehicle and this leg collapsing. And I went into straight shock. And I knew that the leg was destroyed. I could see the bone. It was not a very pretty sight. And the thing about it is when I collapsed like that, I went into shock, and that's when your life flashes in front of you. The things that you happened in the past to the things that will happen at that present time to the things that even I looked above and beyond in the future. And I'm going to tell you what it was. What really caught my eye was my family. You know, my wife, Karen, being back at home, my baby, little girl, who is now at the University of Oklahoma. I had that picture of her too in my cargo pocket, and I pulled it out of my shirt pocket and looked at it, and that by far, man, was, I got to tell you, that was what really got me, man. I was like, you know, I think I may be dying in Iraq, and I'm never going to see that little girl again. And when that goes through your mind, what happens is that you go through a state of shock, some disappointment, some grief, and then you're thinking, you know, this is it. And all you would hope for is that you get to see your little girl again. And to me, that was the inspiration behind taking each breath. And, you know, I remember my heart was beating really, really slow, and then it would speed up, a lot of blood flowing out of my body. But the great thing about it is that young man took his training seriously, saved my life. And I'm here to talk about it today. And I always tell people, I get emotional. I feel like I got one of my blood transfusions, got a little female blood in me, so now I cry all the time. But it's just part of it, and it's just the emotion of everything that I see. And I'm going to tell you something. Today, when I was walking over and I saw all these placards here with all the names of all of those that didn't come back, that to me could have been me.
Yes.
And all I would want is what we didn't do to our Vietnam veterans, and that was take care of them and give them the welcome home they deserve. I'm glad that we're doing events like this to honor the sacrifice, and now we're educating the legacy.
Well, and in your book, Major Ed, and so many of you that are watching this television episode with Major Ed Pulido from Folds of Honor, a survivor of the Iraq War, of course he lost his leg, has written this wonderful book, Warrior for Freedom, Challenge, Triumph, and Change. So many of you may be going through a crisis in your life as well. And Major Ed, if people are going through a crisis, maybe they didn't get blown up in war, maybe they have another explosive event in their life that has hurt them internally or emotionally or in some way. What would you have to say for them? What's in this book that they need to read and that will help them?
Well, and thank you for setting that up. A lot of people don't understand that this book that I wrote it not to be a Rambo book or a hero book. I wrote it to help others.
Yes.
And the reason that I did that is, number one, I can use my story as a way to show people that recovery is possible. That no matter what challenge you have, which challenge is sitting on the battlefield almost losing my life, triumphs you have, meaning the first step for me was after an amputation is taking that first step. And then change, knowing that the American people need to know that in this book and what I write about is that war changes us. And I get a little bit saddened sometimes by comments on social media and other platforms where people, you know, tend to degrade our highest office in the land or our leaders or all of that. And it saddens me because at the end of the day, none of us are perfect. And for me, you know, I wrote this book to let people know that motivation, inspiration, and hope and opportunity are possible. And you know what? No matter what you go through, get back up, never quit, and understand that, you know what? Life is precious.
We'll be back with more Match Play right after these messages. Golf. Yeah, you love it. But we all know just how frustrating it can be. That's unless you were born with a golf club in your hand. The Legacy Golf Performance Center is a virtual golfer's paradise designed to take your game to brand new heights. Yeah, that high. Our certified and friendly professional staff utilizes all state-of-the-art golf technologies to help get you swinging and putting just like a pro. You got that
right. Mother Nature provides the canvas. We help to make it a work of art. Brought to you by the members of the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America. Creating a revolutionary product starts by asking, what if? What if we loaded every inch with game-changing innovation? What if we had a flight tuning system to control ball flight, roll face and cup face technologies for explosive power, slipstream sole technology for more speed, and dual carbon tech with 8 adjustable loft settings? And what if all this technology and performance costs significantly less than the competition? Exotics EXS by Tour Edge. Pound for pound, nothing else comes close.
Now back to Match Play with your host, Ray Adams.
Well, our military goes and fights and defends this country for all Americans. And this book is for all Americans. It doesn't matter race, color, creed, religion, political party. It's for all Americans, and it is so inspirational. But I want to go back just one moment, if we may.
Yes.
Can we talk about the dark side for just a moment? How challenged were you? How difficult was it when you knew not only you were going to lose your leg, but that you in fact did, and you had to find recovery from that? How difficult was that for you? What did you go through?
Yeah, and let me set that up because that's very important. So I'm on the field of battle. I end up in Baghdad, 17 hours in surgery, blood transfusions, get my Purple Heart from General Petraeus. From there, I've been transferred to Germany. I end up at Walter Reed. Walter Reed, I end up at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas, in the burn unit and the amputee unit. And let me tell you something, it was very prehistoric. So I come back and I'm thinking, you know what, they've saved my legs, so I think I'm okay. But then I come back and I have E. coli, Ancetobacter, which is in the soils. Ancetobacter is the name of it. And then 2 staph infections and then this chemical agent in my leg. And I got to tell you, I went from 195 to 118 pounds. That to me was the moment that hopelessness sat in, that grief, and the thought process of suicide. And I got to tell you, the suicidal ideation that transformed me during that period of time was that, man, I could just cut these machines off and in the middle of the night just go to bed and never wake up.
What did you fall back on? I know your faith.
Yes.
Certainly, obviously, your wife, family, parents, everybody there. What else did you reach for deep inside, Major Ed, to bring you through that horribly dark time?
Well, the dark time was, I gotta say, was my mom, who was in the hospital, and would come in and it was, she knew, she saw it in my face. I was real pale and I was in a place of darkness, in a very dark, what I call hole. And I just didn't know how to get out. And I remember the reason I was in this dark hole is I took one step and I couldn't take any more steps, man. And my mom sat me in the bed and she said, you know what, you could sit there and grieve or you can get up and succeed. And that to me was really the words of encouragement that I needed. And it wasn't just the only words. My wife would come in and say, you know, God's gonna carry us through this. We're going to write a new chapter in the book. This is a new chapter of our lives. And that to me, man, and I'm sorry, a little emotion on it, but that was the day that I told myself, man, I can't give up. And I didn't give up on life. And I told myself I'm coming back strong, and this is going to be Major Ed. And that, man, that's what I'm all about today. And when you read that book, that's what you're going to read, is about passion, about the motivation, and those first steps, and then the 47 steps, and then getting back up and saying, you know what, here's what I'm going to do. And then saying to myself, guess what, that young man that saved my life, I'm going to take care of him and so many others. And that's why Folds of Honor is the beacon of life. That's why Colonel Rooney has started something very powerful. I've been with him as a co-founding member of this organization since day one. And guess what, you know what, freedom is not free. And that to me is an example of what that is all about.
You know, before you can have good news, you got to have bad news. You just heard the bad news. But there's good news. The good
There
news
is
is
good
you
news.
went on, you wrote the book. You've told me before that yes, you lost your leg and it was a horrible event, but it was maybe the best thing that ever happened to you.
That's true.
Going forward
Yeah.
in your life after recovery, later, it became the best thing that ever happened for Major Ed Pulido. And then the book and how many people you've helped. And then, of course, Folds of Honor as a co-founder with Colonel Rooney, and it's tied to the game of golf, just interconnected, joined at the hip. Tell us about Folds of Honor. Start there. What is Folds of Honor?
Well, and as a senior vice president of the Folds of Honor, you know, our mission and our singular mission, as I stated, is that, you know what, we provide scholarships to the families of the fallen, wounded, and disabled. We've done over 24,500, but we're on our way to 25,000 scholarships awarded in our existence since 2007. And the thing about it is that our motto is honoring the sacrifice, educating the legacy. 87 cents of every dollar goes to these families. And we wouldn't be doing an event like this here at the Patriot All-America without the fact that the game of golf, Patriot Golf Day, Tony Beata's out here. His son is playing out there today. And guess what? Patriot Golf Day was the catalyst for starting this movement. And now we're about close to 30 million plus strong in revenue each year. We still have a deficit of 500 scholarships that we can't fund every year. And that was what our number was this year. But I'm going to just kind of premise this to you by saying, for me, it is personal because I now have an 18-year-old at the University of Oklahoma on a Folds of Honor scholarship. And Caitlin is there. And you know what? To me, that is where it comes full circle. My passion, the drive that I have for this organization, I'm living it and breathing it every day. And she was the second scholarship recipient of Folds.
Really?
Yeah. And so that's even
Wow.
a powerful story. And that's a story that needs to get out. And
Well,
you know what? It's a powerful thing to talk about.
If I remember correctly, and you told me this story, and so did Colonel Dan, he was on an airplane, and I believe he was in Michigan.
Correct.
And a fallen military hero his body was being loaded onto the plane, and Colonel Dan at the time, who is a fighter pilot with our military, he is also a PGA professional, thought to himself, there needs to be more attention to this. Some people that are on this plane care about this, others don't know about it, and they need education, they need awareness. And so he went on, and with great men and women like you, Major Ed, you all founded Folds of Honor. And this was many years ago, 2007, I believe.
Yes.
And then from there, thousands and thousands of dollars in scholarship money, millions of dollars in scholarship money has gone to help the kids of the wounded and fallen military members, men and women alike. And
Yes.
this is the great good news of what can happen out of war, out of the tragedy and the terribleness of the crisis and the horribleness of war. I don't know how else to put it.
I think I agree with you.
But the good news can come from it. There can be a silver lining, and you and Colonel Dan and hundreds of others, and the volunteers all over the country, you have Patriot Day golf with Folds of Honor. Tell us
Every
about
day.
it. What is that?
Well, and Patriot Golf Day is the biggest grassroots golf initiative in the country. The premise behind it is that people can give $1 or more in their green fee on it used to be on Labor Day weekend. Now we're going to do a big promotion with the PGA of America and the United States Golf Association and kind of move things around to where we do something very special on Memorial Day to show that on Memorial Day it's not just about going to the barbecue or going to the lake or doing that, those or playing golf. That's part of it too. But my point is, let's just take a time and some time to reflect and to say, you know what, Memorial Day is about those that paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to be where we're at. Veterans Day, on the other hand, is for our veterans to honor them, but Memorial Day is to honor not only the individual who paid the ultimate sacrifice, but honor their families.
I remember Tom Lehman told me, Major Ed, recently that Memorial Day forever changed for he and his family.
Correct.
When he came to your Patriot Day golf event in Oklahoma.
He did, and you know what? The great thing about it is Tom Lehman is a great ambassador, not only for the game of golf, but he's a great golfer, of course, but he's also just a great family man. He is the epitome of what you want. His daughter, Rachel, works for us at the Folds.
Yes,
she just
does.
had a baby. Congratulations to her. Very special family. Every time I see them, I see the true blessing of the American family. And you know, he's told his story of not having
Yes.
money in the beginning of stages
Oh, yeah.
of his career. And then, of course, you know, having to pay his caddy. And that story is just one of those magical stories, because look how successful he is today.
Well,
and
he
guess
is.
what? He doesn't have to give back to Folds of Honor, but
He's
he does.
a great ambassador for Folds of Honor and then everything. And so many volunteers around the country. Talk about the volunteers and talk about the 500, 600, 700 individual golf tournaments benefiting Folds of Honor in chapter cities all over the country that happens every year.
Yeah, and we have now 29 chapters around the country. All the chapters kind of run congruent to what their mission is in their local communities.
If you're in a chapter city, or if you're in anywhere in the country and you're watching this, or you see it on YouTube by going to Match Play TV, Major Ed, tell them, where can they call, where can they write, what do they need to do if they want to get involved, maybe create a new chapter, get involved with the chapter that's near them, be a part of the golf side of Folds of Honor, or maybe write a check and donate to Folds of Honor. What do they need to do?
Great. That's a great segue to talk about the fact that 29 chapters across this country are all in different cities. The thing about it is they can go to foldsofhonor.org. We have a chapter map where they can see where all the chapters are, and really kind of see the different stages of the chapters, also see who the leadership of the chapter is, and then also encourage people to know that these chapters are the way you can drive events. So for anybody out there that's watching that wants to do a Patriot Golf Day event or golf event, or wants to do a wine tasting, or wants to do just a gala for us and say, you know what, the proceeds of this gala, or maybe just an event. In fact, I just give big shout out to the Arizona grocers here in the Valley. And then I just did an event in Tampa, Florida with a bunch of different people in the electric business. All over the country, everyone's got their niche, everyone's got their footprints.
He's on fire for America, he's on fire for Folds of Honor, and it's men and women like Major Ed Pulido and you that make our country what it is. And we thank you from the bottom of our heart for you, for Folds of Honor, for all of your service, sacrifice, for your book, Warrior for Freedom. You really are a warrior.
MajorEd.org, they can go get it.
MajorEd.org, you can get Warrior for Freedom. You can go to foldsofhonor.org as well.
And give, that's right.
And give back in your local area. Major Ed, thanks for being with me on Match Play today.
Yeah, and guess what? Congratulations on your show. Continue to be the beacon of light for media and for doing greater good.
I very humbly thank you for that comment.
Hoorah!
There is a place where reality exceeds your dreams, where time is not measured in days, hours, or minutes, but in smiles, new experiences, and new friends. A place where happiness is not a feeling, it's a way of life. Here, you're not just a visitor, you're family. There are many languages in the world, and our smile speaks them all.